Welcome to a new episode of Entheogenic Renaissance, and my name is Vladislav, and I'm a certified psychedelic coach. And today I'm talking with a coordinator of Barcelona Psychedelic Society, psychologist, and a fellow psychonaut. And this is going to be a raw and honest conversation about experiences, about the application of plant medicine, whatnot, for therapeutic use. And I don't know where it's going to head, but well, we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. Could you please introduce yourself for people who are watching this?
Yeah, thank you, Vlad, for the offering and to be here as well. It's a pleasure. And for the people that doesn't know me, like I've been recently graduated as psychology in the last year, and through many years as well. Like I'm at the moment 30. Since I was 19 and I had my first psychedelic experience, I was amazed by the world that opened through me. And since then, I think that it's one of my main expertise or main things that I want to develop my life and help people to get at least the same insights that I got through that, because I think it can be so many things and it can be so rewarding that it's really a pity that some people will not go through the psychedelic experience at least once in their lifetime. So one of my goals, if you want to call it, it's to facilitate these kind of spaces, experiences to people, and to let them know like the beautiful world that can be opened through psychedelics, that in the end it's something that we've been growing inside of us, no? So it's one of my roles on the Psychedelic Society as well, no? To develop this, to bring up community, to allow people to speak about this topic that can be a little bit taboo sometimes. So I'm very comfortable doing that and very happy to share any kind of experiences and knowledge that we can all get together to know.
Sounds like a promising start.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I need to make a disclaimer about the fact that entheogenic substances are on a controlled substance list in the vast majority of countries. Therefore, in most countries, it is not allowed to purchase them, to sell them, to possess them, and in some countries to even consume them. But there are other risks involved. So if you have predisposition for schizophrenia or bipolar disease or episodes of mania, it is better for you to avoid consumption of entheogenic substances because they can act as triggers. They don't make people mad, contrary to widely held belief, but they can, if used inappropriately, cause severe consequences for mental health. So going back to our conversation, let's talk about your first experience. How did that happen?
Well, I think that my first experience was completely mess, and it was maybe the most awful experience that I had. Basically, because I didn't know anything about the substance, that it was with magic truffles. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know where to take it, with whom to take it. And I basically did everything wrong on the first time. So it was like a good lesson to learn. It was on Amsterdam, of course, after finishing my college. So I think I was pretty young, like 18 years old, not fully developed until the psychedelic world. So wrong setting, wrong set, everything wrong. Some paranoia, some didn't feel pretty well through the whole journey because it was like a lot of lights. I was on the street. I was not like in a natural space or in a safe place. So my mind felt that, no? And it was like a bad experience, I would say. Of course, I could learn something good from that still, but the integration didn't came at least after like 3-4 years into that experience, that I could at least get some insight or something positive out of it. But in the end, it really helped me to give a lot of more respect to the substance, to the setting, to the people who is surrounding me and living this experience along with me. And it taught me like a huge lesson. So I'm still thankful, even if it was like a bad experience. I'm thankful because now I know what not to do. And that is like a huge progress, no, let's say. So that will be more or less my first touching with psychedelics, no? And then after 2 years, this experience, I didn't manage to try it again because I was afraid. I didn't think that it was the right time. So the second time that I tried, it was like in a more safe space with people that I trust a lot more. So thankfully, I had like a proper psychedelic experience, getting to this kind of touch with the universe, with myself, with something bigger. So since then, since that second experience, I knew that it was like it was opening like a big world, and still more to develop, more to dig off, and to find still nowadays. So
Wow, interesting.
yeah.
You mentioned the first experience was really difficult. How come after the first experience that was such not a pleasant probably one that you still like continue to be interested and not just completely stayed off use ever again?
I think one of the main reasons is because I did my research, I would say.
After?
Yeah, after. So before, I didn't know the effects, what to expect, the dose, anything, let's say, so very bad. And then after that experience, I get to learn more about the shamanic related world that it's within the psychedelics, the potential therapeutic appliance that you can have as well. And I said, okay, I think I should give it a try, because I'm reading that some people are having like some kind of insights, having like a good experience, a good time, and I think I will have to give another chance to see if it will repeat that same experience or it will be quite different. No? So thankfully, it was much positive, much difference, and I'm very grateful for that, because I think that the same respect that you can give or apply to the substances, sometimes the substances will bring it back to you. So if you're taking it just for fun, just to see some colors, to see the walls jiggling a bit, okay, you will have that, no? But if you're looking for something more, then the substance might give you this like reward or beyond the regular world, no? So thankfully, like in that second experience, I managed to get onto that, and since then I realized that it's just amazing, this world, and how can be so healing, so how can be so loving, and not only that, but it can be hard as well, no? Because of course you are seeing parts of yourself that you are hiding, that you don't want to see, things that you try to avoid, and we all know that psychedelics are like a mirror that you see yourself, not with this kind of metaphysic questions that you cannot answer, but the basic questions that how can I improve myself, how can I be better with my partner, my fathers, my friends, in the work, my job, whatever. No? So getting to that aim and with a more respectful space and time, I think that psychedelics will reward you and will treat you in the same way that you are treating them now. So since then, I find that a lot of respect and a lot of gratitude towards them, and usually this is something that you get back now. So it's very loving not to see how the relationship with the substance, with the medicine, it's changing along that you are changing as well, no? So you are developing yourself, you are being more mature, you are being more consciousness, and that same consciousness and maturity will be reflected on the psychedelics, no? So, well, it's just like 5 cents that to at least to know or to realize that the psychedelics will put you in the same space that you treat them, no? Or that you usually put them, I think, no? So
wow, did that change you in any way, that experience, either the first or the second or the ones that followed?
I think the first one, no, not really. The first one was still kind of ego dominated, like trying to get control, trying to understand everything, not really flowing onto that state. But after the second and other experiences with other substances as well, it definitely change you, and even if you don't want to, you will see some changes in your life, like in your diet, the people that you are spending time with, your usual activities, and in the end, just how you see the world. Now, maybe you can see the world as something that it's very threatening. But after this experience, you can see this kind of harmony that resides in everything, no? And sometimes even if we don't want to, and even more nowadays, because everything is being so changing so fast and being like a lot of things that make you feel threatened. But after that, I think that I feel like more in peace with myself, in peace with the world, and more confident. Then there's like some kind of loving higher self or God or whatever you're gonna call like, that is still taking care of everything and trying to contain all the souls that are here on earth, no? So really align with that kind of, I don't know if it's like a force, an energy, godlike, no? So I used to be like more like an agnostic. Now I am a believer, no? So it really changes some of your more primal ideas, no, or roots regarding the world or whatever, no. So it definitely change you, and I think that it changed in all the people who have had a really profound experiences, no. So if you haven't felt any change through psychedelics, I will dare to say that you haven't really tried psychedelics, right? Because I think that everybody who has like a glimpse of light of what psychedelics can bring you and what are, you just have this feeling when you're looking through the people of the psychedelic world, no? Like we just have this same vibe, these same ideas, this same way to see the life, no, in the end. So it's really good, no, and really loving to see how this energy with the people who also had the same experiences are resonating as well, no? And here we are, no, like connecting because of the psychedelics and talking about them, no? So imagine how profound it can be, that it brings a lot of people together, no? And makes like a huge sense of community in all the world that people have felt that, no? Like you can give like, oh, you have to try mushrooms or ayahuasca, so it's very easy to give like a hug to that people and to show love, no? And maybe that wouldn't happen if you have tried alcohol, no? Or if you are drunk, no? Oh, you have tried alcohol, okay, give me a hug. It usually is not like that, no? But with psychedelics, you can be more open in that sense, no? And you can just be more connected to the people who had the same experience. So I do feel that a lot. And that's one of the reasons that I'm in the Psychedelic Society as well, no? Because I do feel like there's like a lot of more of connection than not with the people who haven't, for example, tried or haven't felt that blissful experience, if you want to call it like in a more cliche way, no? So.
All right. Well, thanks. And I want to talk about the dark side as well in a bit, about the spiritual bypassing, the ego inflation, the fact that psychedelics are not like fixing every single person, they're not for all. But before going there, I wanted to go quickly back to something that you mentioned about like changing the probably belief system and from being agnostic to becoming more, I guess, like religious or not religious, but like, I don't know, how do you define it? More spiritual or believing, you said, right?
Yeah, maybe spiritual will be like a good adjective to it, no? Because it's more free, it's more open, no? Usually religious will be following Christianity or Hinduism, no? So you have to do some certain practice to achieve whatever, no? That it's like also like a nice ego way to feel to live this spirituality, no? So spirituality in that sense for me will be something more freely, something that you discover by yourself, and some practice that you are doing on your own, that because you realize that they are the ones that you need and that it's going to be useful for you, no? So
yeah, how about, so that's really good explanation, and I can relate to that. I used to be an agnostic as well, and I can understand where you're coming from with this shift. There was one other more practical thing that I wanted to ask in that regard, not in that regards, but in terms of change. You mentioned nutrition, like food, like what you eat, and I can understand the change, you know, about the worldview, you know, like relationship to energy, whatever. But then when it comes to like food, this is not just it's down to daily actions afterwards. So how did that change for you?
So I become more aware of the energy that I'm putting on my body, basically. No, so the food in the end, it's energy, okay, and you can have like some good energy or some bad energy as well. No, like I think that we all can agree that Oreo, Twix, M&Ms, all these kind of sweets, treat sweets that are all around us, maybe are good for some little time on one weekly day or whatever, but it's not something that you should be taking daily. And the same happens with processed food, no, like frankfurt or the kind of meat stuff that assembles more something of a production factory made rather than something natural. No, so regarding the diet, I also start to be more aware of it when I did my first ayahuasca ceremony as well. So it's at least 2 weeks of dieting, of being very aware of what you're eating, not taking alcohol, caffeine, processed foods, a lot of sugars. So since then I realized, okay, if you need to have some kind of a specific diet to get prepared for ayahuasca, why not bring that to your daily life, no? And and see how it changes. And for me also, like I used to have like dermatitis atopica, atopic skin. So I became very sensitive to foods and more like to processed foods. So my body just reacted with itching if I used to eat like alcohol, if I used to eat like processed food and all this kind of stuff. So at least for me, it was like a natural response to my body to these kinds of food, because they also liberate like a lot of histamine. So I become kind of allergic to shitty stuff. So my body was just telling me, okay, like you need to do like a more natural diet, more real foods. No, like nowadays it's very top, like real or organic food. No, it's become more trendy. So my body was just calling for that, and I think it's like a natural process that some people get early, some people get more late, and you can easily see like somebody who is not having like a good diet or like a good healthy style, how that reflects on their body. So taking care of my body, doing exercise, like respecting what I put in, is like a big part of my personality nowadays, I would say. So I'm very aware of that, and also very thankful, very grateful, because it's something that it's being normalized. For example, go to McDonald's to have like a quick meal, or having like a shitty kebab or that kind of stuff. So that can be good on your 20s, but the more you grow up, the more that your body is like calling to have real good nutrients. So I'm sticking to that, and nowadays like I'm feeling good. My skin is very, very well as well. So trying to keep in that road, and to be more aware, just not the energy that I put in, but also with how I surround myself with, people with positive, good, positive or negative attitude, and so on. I think that in the end we are all the time like getting this kind of inputs to ourselves, and the more aware that what you are consuming, even from the media nowadays, that I think that the media is one of the biggest causes of illness that can happen to people, because they put you in a state of fear, in a state of resentment, in a state that is just not the normal state of being, and something positive that you want to develop yourself. You have a lot of stress, and it's very easy just to turn on the news or to see the phone and to see all the shitty stuff that it's happening nowadays, and how that in the end is gonna to reflect on us and cause like a huge harm, if we don't respect what we are consuming or putting into our minds, body, or soul, not even that. So
how did psychedelics explain all this for you?
How did it explain it?
Yeah. How did they affect? Did they play a crucial part in all this transformation? Because what you're saying is a lot. Like it's a lot of like behavioral change. It seems.
Yeah. So for example, like I was vegetarian for 3 years as well, and that will be one of the consequences of taking too much psychedelics, for example, no?
Okay.
That you can become very sensible to the animals, wildlife, and all that stuff, and you can create like this kind of personality, no? That it's also related with this kind of ego inflation and some other stuff, no? Like, for example, I used to believe that in order to be more spiritual or to be more connected with nature, that I shouldn't be eating animals, for example. And that's like a huge belief that I maintained through a couple, 2-3 years, no? So giving up on that was also like a huge part of my development process and growth. And it became more aware of how we normalize, for example, eating some kind of meat that maybe we are not that used to, or we shouldn't be eating that much, because in the end it may cause you some kind of harm, or you just don't feel it right to your body. And in that sense, I think it was one of the times that sometimes the belief that you think that you are having is not the right one. Because, for example, of the spiritual bypassing that you say some minutes ago, no. So I think I was on some kind of that state for some times, where I would try to be more spiritual through eating less animals, but in the end it caused the quite opposite effect, no. Let's say I was judging people who were eating meat. I was not feeling comfortable with people eating meat around me. I used to avoid meetings with people who were going to places like with meat focusing. So I was kind of losing some kind of connection over there with my friends, family, and even with my partner. So I realized that, at least for now, sometimes I'm not saying that in the future I wouldn't become vegetarian again, because it's something that I do enjoy, and I feel that it goes aligned with my lifestyle. But for now, it's not something that I needed anymore, no? So maybe that kind of personality that I became, or that I construct, I just leave it a little bit behind and try to be more freely, and not judge it that much, no? Because in the end, maybe it was not because I really think or felt that I shouldn't become vegetarian because of my health, or animals, or the planet, or whatever, but more related with getting into some point of a spiritual enlightenment or spiritual practice, no? It's like, okay, the Buddhists are not eating animals, so if I want to become like a Buddhist, like I shouldn't become, no? Like, that was my way of thinking, no? So I realized that I was losing a bit of myself onto that, and trying to be or become someone that wasn't just me, no? Or what I'm really feel comfortable with, no? Because maybe I was somebody eating ham, and I was craving for that, you know. So I was like that kind of
it's a hard thing. I mean, we're in Spain. It's like on every corner.
Exactly. So it was not only avoiding eating meat, but it was just, in the end, like I realized, like avoiding like a part of my culture. Right? Because in the end, the family gatherings, the barbecues with a friend, it's just some kind of cultural networking or whatever, that if you want to be like part of the group, let's say, like, you need to do some kind of social rules that are being done, no? Like eating meat, for example. So, well, I think it's always wise to get back to your steps, no? And nowadays I have like a more open and more conscious behaving towards food, no? So it's not something that I reject, it's something that I just accept on the right time and on the right moment, no? And I just stick to that. And, well, I think that it's like a good idea to be very aware of what kind of meat are you putting on your body. If the animal was living happily, if it was living in a cage for 8 months, for example, and all that stuff, no? And it's something that people usually don't want to think or don't want to realize, no? But psychedelics, as we know, they open beyond the usual questions and make you question anything. So the diet topic is like a huge issue. Not like an issue, but it's something that is always being on the background, no? So.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. That's
Yeah.
a long journey.
Thank you. What about you? Like, have you felt the same in some kind of your life, or regarding the diet, or how does it change to you, or how do you feel this?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Well, I have my own framework that I developed, which is called Sapiens OS. Basically, this is the methodology that I developed over the years, and I have a rare autoimmune condition that is basically like a variation of arthritis that is launched because of inflammation processes in the body. So once I recognized that, I started to change a lot of things in my life, addressing sleep, nutrition, movement, stress management, on and on and on. And then at some point I realized that nutrition plays crucial part in all it, and not just like nutrition, as you mentioned, alcohol, ultra processed foods, sugar, excess amounts of sugar, which is neurotoxic as it turns out, and is basically a fuel for inflammation. I still struggle with sugar cravings. Like I mean, I eat like half a piece of a 90% chocolate every day. But when I pass by all these like bread stores and those pain chocolats, look at me, I'm like, dude, not today. But then sometimes, it just kicks in like, okay, today's the day, I'm gonna have it. But yeah, generally I'm avoiding eating meat, but for different reasons. Partially because it's the industry creates a lot of waste and the cruelty and all that. But to me, there's more of a scientific approach to that, because the like plant-based diet, or I don't know how they call it nowadays, it's more like it's better for the body, because meat contains a lot of antibiotics, and when we accumulate them in our body, well, it's not good for the entire system. And microbiome is healthier when you eat plant-based. So I eat fish, I eat eggs though. I'm not like, hardcore vegan or vegetarian or whatever. I guess I'm flexible. I mean, every once in a while I have a craving for meat, and, I had a kebab like last November. I was like half a year ago. I was just walking by the city. I'm like, dude, I just want a kebab. I just really needed it. I went for it and I just enjoyed it. That's it. Done for I guess at least half a year. Now I don't want it. But anyway, I want to go back to your experience. So you went with the psychedelic experiences, and then how did you end up like coordinating a psychedelic society of Barcelona? Well, how did you get there?
Well, so there was already this psychedelic society going on before I joined.
How old is it?
I think it's over 10 years, more or less, since 2017 or so.
Not like too old.
No. And it first began with the Psychedelic Society in Spain. Then it began in Madrid as well. And after that, there was this guy called Sanson, who is like a guy who is living in Alicante. And well, he managed to create the one from Barcelona as well, and was with some other volunteers that are no longer doing activities. And I went to one of these picnics and get along with one of the lead volunteers as well. We start to have like a chat, and after like a couple meetings, she said to me, okay, like, do you want to collaborate or keep doing these activities, because I'm gonna to step out, so if you wanna join yourself, like feel free.
Nice.
And I said, yeah, okay, why not? So there was like the local Barcelona community, and there was besides there was like another one who was more for foreigners, for people from all the world. So in 2022, I think, or 2023, they merged together. And since then, all the Spanish group and the international group are just brought together and doing these mixed activities, as long as in English or Spanish. And since then, well, we've done we did like a congress, let's say like one day congress in Barcelona with some scientifics that are doing research.
Was it University of Barcelona in November?
No,
2025?
no,
It was
no,
a
no.
different one?
It was another one, yeah, in Magba,
Right.
near
Nice.
the Magba, and after that, like some regular activities like the sharing circles, some hikings, picnics, experts talking as well, and doing some kind of harm reduction, information, and just bring people together to get to know and to feel free to share any kind of psychedelic experience or questions that you will not regularly ask or share in a more casual or friendly space, no, with your regular friends or with your workmates or whatever, no. So since then, like pretty happy with how everything has been going on. Over 40 events, more like 1,000 people that came in. So yeah, I also made some good friends as well in the psychedelics, and very happy not to get to open my social circle in this sense, and get in touch with people that in the end they see the world similar to me and to you and to all the people who is going through this kind of experiences, no. So that will be more or less the
cool. How would you describe it? Well, like what does it mean to be a member of a Barcelona Psychedelic Society? Like, who are these people? What are they doing? Like, you mentioned events, okay, but in general, like, what's happening?
Well, besides the events, not much things, no. So there's also like this global psychedelic society movement as well, that it's trying to get all the psychedelic societies together and do some stuff, no, that you are as well part of it.
The US based one, the GPS,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And these ones, besides this kind of events, like not much more. Like we would like to have maybe more income to be able to book more spaces, to do more activities like more cool, to bring up high profiles as well. But there's still maybe lack of people, because nowadays like we are only 3 doing the volunteers. So it's not like a huge team. We used to be more, but people in the end have their life. Maybe they don't want to volunteer anymore, and they don't find it maybe as rewarding or whatever, no. But for me, it's something very beautiful, no. And in the end, just to hear or to see people opening about their experiences, about how some kind of substance changed their lifestyle or their way of viewing seeing the world, it's magical in the end. And I feel very lucky to be part of it and to be like a witness of how psychedelics are indeed something very powerful and something that can be very profound if you treat it with the right amount of respect and in the right time, the right moment, and all that stuff, no. So very happy to be part of it, and hope to continue maybe like a couple more years at least.
Oh, okay. That sounds promising. Are you collaborating with ICers or like any others who are running research in Spain?
Not really. Like we have like some kind of partnership with Moksha, that is like a center that they do therapy with psilocybin, with MDMA, with ketamine. So they allow us to get their space, and in the end, it's part of bringing up people together. So I'm in touch with Jose Carlos Bouzo, that he was the former scientific researcher in ICERS, and he's, for example, open to have like a talk in May regarding maybe his last book or any kind of expertise regarding his field on psychedelics. So more of a lot of these organizations are like very open, no? So it's in the end a matter of contacting them. On psychedelic care, for example, it's also we are in touch with them, like to be like collecting the signatures and so on. And we also have in Spain like a couple more, like in Awe, that it is also like defends the psychedelic practices. And recently it has been created the Psychedelic Society, not the Spanish Society of psychedelic medicine, SEMSI, it's called. That it's also like a association with individuals that are not like doing ceremonies or practices, but are doing research.
Right.
So most of the people who are in there like are doctors, are researchers in hospitals, and people who is like in a European level, like trying to preserve and to defend this world that we are enjoying.
And to the best of my knowledge, all the work is still underground, right? Except for the research that is happening, like in official universities or wherever. But like people who are working with the medicine here, it's kind of gray, right?
Mostly yes.
Right.
Like for example, in Moksha, they are like it's 100% legal. Yeah.
Well, how does it work?
Okay, so it works under the third way. It's called on medicine. Will be like the literal translation from Spanish. So the third way is like if you have used all the resources or all the medicines
Like
or
classic approaches,
yeah, the classic approaches, and none of them have worked. You are free to use the ones that are being under research.
Nice.
Right? Okay. So MDMA is under research, psilocybin is under research, ketamine is under research. So even if it's not still fully open to the public, let's say, you can use it under this kind of rule. So they abide like through this, and it's like so far they haven't had any problem. Like it's been running on for 3-4 years, I think. So of course, like the prices and everything is not the same because like you have to pay like a doctor, a psychiatrist, a nurse, so maybe another trip sitter who is being with you on the session. So the approach that you may have is not this kind of same approach that it might be more underground. No? So it's like a more professional approach. They will get your blood level tension, like they will get everything through a more, let's say, clinical approach, no? Not that shamanic or underground way that maybe people are more used to.
Right.
So I think it's very good because you have, in the end, like very different kind of ways that people can try. You have like the shamanic way, the more maybe traditional neo-shamanic. You have like maybe someone who is trip sitting with any kind of shamanic practices. Then you have these clinical procedures as well. So I think that there's like a specific way of approaching the medicine for any kind of personality or way of behaving, no? Because maybe some people doesn't like the shamanic approach and they would rather be more comfortable with somebody with a white let's say. So it's up to anyone to find like the right approach in the right time and see how it resonates with you, no? Also this kind of feeling with the person who is going to facilitate you, like you have to have like a really good feeling about it, no? Like if it's if you're hesitant or something like that, so maybe avoid it or wait a little bit. But it's a matter of finding, no, the right time, and I think people will get what they need, no, if you really find for it.
And talking about that center or in general the shamanic traditions, like what are the conditions people usually go to treat with the medicine? Like is it depression, PTSD, or something else?
Yeah. So I think that's also, so there's many psychedelics, and each psychedelic can help you to some kind of personal distress or personal conditions in that moment, no? So psilocybin, it's well known to be very helpful. So for persistent depression, for example, even anxiety. Well, that it's a little discussed that if anxiety is like an illness or not, or is more like the consequence, no?
Yeah, I think so as well.
Right, but but well, in that sense. And then, for example, you have MDMA that is a very, very positive for example, PTSD. It's very helpful. Ketamine that can be very rewarding for depression as well, because it rewires your brain very fast, let's say. And even OCD can be treated with psilocybin. Anxiety about just living. People, for example, who is in their last days of their life, for example, they are terminal cancer patients, for example, they also used psilocybin to prepare them for their last trip of their life, let's say. So I think that it can be like very broad, the appliance that can have, and it's just finding like the right substance and how you resonate with that, So many, Maybe I forgot something else that you might add as well. But
I mean, of course, there are other conditions that people like migraines, for instance, or cluster headaches, fibromyalgia. Generally, well, there are other like reasons people go to explore psychedelics. Not just healing necessarily, but that when it comes to healing, there are other like less, I'd say, researched aspects, but more profound in my view, such as like cultural trauma or multi-generational trauma. I mean, that thing is not on the DSM or whatever. I mean, it's not something that you just occasionally heal. I mean, depression is one thing, but then, underneath it, it could be something really, really deep. And, I'm coming from ex-Soviet bloc, and I mean, there's a lot of trauma that sits in there, and people are simply not aware of it. And I'm a true believer that psychedelics can actually help heal that. But the trick here, and this is what I wanted to discuss, going back to the dark side, the spiritual bypassing, or not just that, but people say, psychedelics can heal this, can heal that, and people can benefit, but not all really, because some people can get their ego inflated. Some people abuse the medicine. Some people take the medicine and abuse people using the position of power. And this is a really, really tricky thing here, because how do you like distinguish at the very beginning, like who is the person that would, do good to you or, exploit you? And you mentioned some of the things like connect with the person, listen to yourself, like whether or not like you trust this person, but maybe there's something else. Like let's talk about that, like because I mean. There's more attention, more people are hearing about the magic properties, and then they go online, they find something, they go to the first healer, whomever that person is, but there are no guardrails. I mean, you're a psychologist, you got your supervision probably, right, is a mandatory aspect of your practice, and there are other guardrails like standards, ethics. When it comes to psychedelics, 5%, give or take, is done in an underground setting. There are like no rules. It's Wild West completely. So you really got to know like to whom, as I say, you entrust the keys to your psyche, because you're in a very, very vulnerable state. And I hear some really, disturbing stories sometimes. Like people go to these like shaman or healer, and then they either like get abused or they get possessed or whatever. And this is where it gets like really, really dark. And of course it's really challenging but important topic in my view to like balance that conversation, so that we're not all that positive and talking only about the healing elements. I benefited as well, but damn, I mean, there's a lot of darkness out there, and it's not about psychedelics. What I learned is that it's all about people. And how do you, like, what would your advice be when it comes to like identifying like whom to trust, and what would be like the red flags? I don't know, maybe you have some stories that you heard of people in the community. I don't know.
Yeah, very huge topic and very important one as well, no? Because I think that nobody usually prepare you to try to know if who is better for you or not, because you usually wouldn't know the right answers for that, or we don't know what to ask or what to what to question to the guy, no? So the first one, I think it will be like some kind of background check. Let's say like, hey, with how many people have you worked? How many years on the field have you have experience? The reviews of that person or whatever, no? Like people are happy or not. Because here in Spain, for example, there's like a couple organizations that have been going on to the scope of police through some practices that can be a little bit gray, and even put it in on the umbrella of like a secta, like a cult,
sect, cult,
like a cult, no?
Oh wow.
So yeah, so and also one thing that you mentioned that it's very key in this point, I think, is the vulnerability of the people, right? So usually when you are like looking through try some psychedelic practice or ceremony, I wouldn't say that you are like desperate, but maybe you have tried like a lot of stuff that haven't worked before. And then your last resort is like to grab onto psychedelics, and then you are like, let's say, naked. You open yourself, you say your trauma, you speak of whatever is going on through your life, and that can be used like in a bad way from the facilitators or the shaman, whatever, not to try to keep you on the loop of the going to ceremonies, no? Like I've seen people going to a lot of ceremonies, like going like maybe weekly to ceremonies for a year, or
weekly for a year.
Yeah. No,
sounds intense.
Yeah, and also usually the more ceremonies that you do without doing the integration, the more confused that you end up, no? So people I'm not gonna say that it's right or wrong, or if it's true or false, but when you start to dive into past life, astrology, energies, Reiki, this kind of esoteric energies that is not something scientifically proved, you maybe are starting to lose yourself, and that can be used by the facilitator to say, no, God is on your side. You can do everything you want. You just gotta fight for that. You
Trust
gotta
the process.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Awesome.
that. Trust the process. Release yourself.
Yeah.
Be open to don't judge it. No, it's like, hey, I'm having like a mental breakdown. Like I'm almost become crazy for 4 hours because I could not get out of the same loop, and you're telling me not to judge it.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And I think that the lack of preparation sometimes in this field is that the people who are facilitating, at least for me, maybe because I'm too much scientific sometimes, but maybe for some of them, everything it's for a good reason, or you have to trust in God because he will have something more positive to you. So this kind of a spiritual gaslighting or bypassing can be like something true that is happening, and something that when you are on the loop of going to many ceremonies, maybe you start to lose your friends, and your new friends are the ones who are going to the ceremony, and that friends are on the same ideas as you, and you say, yeah, I saw like it's 11:11 on the phone, and that means that I'm on the right path. And your friends will do, yeah, you are true. Wow, you're so lucky and aligned with yourself and connected to the universe because you are seeing the magical numbers on your phone, and you're checking your phone like 3 times every 5 minutes. No, it's like, come on. Like, of course you're gonna see fucking 11:11. So it's something that people need to be very aware of, no? Like this kind of energies or attention that you are putting in, no? And maybe your belief shifting is swifting to something more scientifically proven, to something more esoteric and speaking about energies and all that stuff. Okay, I'm spiritual, I do value energies, I do believe in them, but I don't think it's like the end game, let's say, or the absolute truth that you can follow and you must do whatever some guru told you about, no? So that will be, well, one of the topics, no, in this sense.
Right.
And maybe the other way to get to know or to believe if it's right or wrong, it's just follow your gut as well, no? Not to think it with your brain or whatever, but usually our gut feelings is never wrong, no? So if something is a little bit odd, something is out of tune, maybe you should step out or give more space, no? And see if that it's working with you. And besides that, I think that everybody should be aware, no? If it's something it's a little bit dodgy or something it's a more professional way, no? And also how people advertise it, right? Because the way that you advertise it or the way that you speak about it, it usually tells a lot about the experience that you are selling or trying to reach, right? Because there's like a thin line between the marketing, the real stuff, no? Like session of ayahuasca to connect with your true self. Like, what the fuck is my true self, no? Like, what am I supposed to do, no? And this kind, and usually it's this kind of language is used a lot, no? Like ceremony, full moon ceremony to clean up your energies, and like, hey, my energies are good. It's my mind maybe that is not working on, no? Like why you assume that I'm having like a bad energy, you know? What you need to clean it every 5 minutes with Palo Santo? Maybe it's not. Don't use it that much, no? Maybe so. Find the balance, no? Not to be something very spiritual, very esoteric, but also not scientific. Everything so scientific, because I think it loses a little bit when you're talking only about the percentage or the kind of medicine that if it's pure, not pure, or whatever, no. So try to find the balance, no. And in that balance, I think that you will find the right path and the right people and so on, no. And also trust the process.
So we did end up here, huh? Okay.
Sometimes you gotta trust the process,
sure.
no? Like
it takes time.
Like I'm reluctant with that, but I do agree that it's part of the game, no? Let's say this kind of ego controlling, ego releasing, no, and just be in the middle of it, no? Not too much, not too little.
Valid advices.
Will you add anything else besides?
I like your listen to your gut thing. I think it's really critical, and just asking questions people, and if they don't answer, or if their answers are like shady or avoidant in a way, they're not like straightforward. I'd say that would be a red flag. Or if they're imposing their worldviews, like that you mentioned, I work with energies or I work with that. I mean, I don't mind if a person works with energies, it's totally fine. But then, if they have their own cosmology and they're bringing and imposing it on you right away, that is probably like a red flag to me, because again, people in a not just vulnerable state, they're like clay. I mean, you can mold whatever shape you want out of people, and it will be just like, yes, of course. It's like that movie Inception. You remember that thing? The planet of thought. So to me, it's pretty much the same. So you need to make sure that the person will not mess up with your psyche, and that you can trust the person. Listen to yourself is easier said than done. But it's kind of whether or not you can trust the person. Right? And if you feel like, no, I cannot, better to avoid such experience, because for such a really profound experience, potentially, not necessarily. I mean, psychedelics can be different for different people, and it's not all the time revelational and just, oneness and all. For some people, they just don't work, or, some people get like really difficult, challenging experiences, and that's it. But nevertheless, to be with someone with whom you are not in a trusting place, that's probably going to be a really challenging experience, because you want to make sure that the person that is with you is the person that you can rely on, rather than just sit there and paranoid and think, are they gonna like hurt me? Are they gonna do something bad to me? This is where it gets creepy, of course. So yeah, that for sure. With references is a bit like difficult, especially in the gray area. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's hard to find people who are open and vocal about sharing their experiences, but still a good suggestion nevertheless. And I had this idea some time ago, but I don't think it's real. Still, because of all the legal aspects to it, but to build something like Web3 community-driven, like catalog, not a catalog, but like category, not a category. Shit, what's anyway, like place where there are all practitioners from wherever, and then they get reviewed by real people, and then it's like out there in the open, so that you can see the real like reviews from real people, but not like in a controlled setting where it's like community driven and owned, so to speak. I don't know how to make it happen, especially with the legalities and all. Like it's probably easier to do in maybe like Spain or Portugal or some other countries where the work with psychedelics is either like not illegal or even legal, like Jamaica for instance, but some countries like Middle East, I mean, it's not gonna fly probably, right? So I always think about people who work in that part of the world with the medicine as really brave people. Like I mean, I wouldn't have done that. It's really, really risky. But yeah, there was one other topic that I want to talk about is integration. So you mentioned that integration is critical, and then you talked about these people who are going from one ceremony to another. And I'm currently going through the ICEER's psychedelic integration programs, like 8 weeks out of 12. And then, it's all about integration, and I understand the importance of it. But how do you define integration? And how do you see if a person needs integration or no, they actually did integrate whatever the experience they had?
Yeah, very important. And to link it up with what you asked before, for example, this will be like a very good question to ask to the facilitator, like, how do you do the integration? Like, what is the integration for you?
Sorry, this quick one.
Yeah.
Really, you just touched something and resonated with me immediately, because the thing about the retreats in the underground setting, in all the facilitators and shamans and whatnot, they usually don't have any integration at all. Like next.
Yeah. Like let me put an example to this, because I got invited to a ceremony of a member of the Psychedelic Society, that I'm gonna say who it is, and one of the questions that was going on after the ceremony regarding the integration, it was supposed to be like an integration question, was get 3 words to describe your experience.
It's like a sharing circle or what?
Yeah, like kind of in communal integration, let's say.
Okay, 3 words.
So, yeah, so then you start, some people saying, yeah, blissful, beautiful, relieving, good, blah, 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 like this kind of cliche answers. And there are some people who say like anxiety, fear, nonsense, right? And they just didn't dig up onto them, it was like, okay, next one, so this is how things are going some places, man. So it's very very hard, no? So for me, very easy. It's how to describe integration. Integration will be to bring your insights from the ceremony to your daily life. That's it. As simple as that. Like, you don't need to do any kind of dancing to the moon or some salutations or whatever. No
Palo Santo.
No Palo Santo, not now. Maybe a bit. If you need to ground yourself and you realize that you are maybe out of tune, maybe some daily Palo Santo can work, no? Okay. But if it's not the issue there, it's just to grab some of the insights of the ceremony, no? And in my case, I like to get like 3 different perspectives of the person, so not to brown it up a lot, no? So you don't have to have like a list of 10 integration things that you're gonna do every day to improve your life. No. So first one, start with some change of yourself, like some practice regarding yourself: meditation, doing exercise, eating healthy, using less the phone, whatever you choose it up. Then instead of finishing on yourself, you go a little bit broader, and then you go to your friends, family, or work. Nothing else. I mean, or partner, or whatever. No, so that will be your inner circle. What do you want to change with some friends, or with what you want to change with your attitude with your parents, with your partner, whatever, right? Your second inner circle. And then the last one, of course, will be with the world. Like, how am I related with the world? What I want of this world, what I can offer to this world as well, no? So try to get just one insight from these three perspective, and from this person, from these different areas of yourself. I mean, you should be already working on that and be more aware of the changes that you realize through your ceremony or through your integration and so on. No, so that will be my way of approaching integration in that sense, and to keep it very simple, because I think that usually, like, you don't need to go beyond symbolic representations and metaphorical questions and projections, and you don't need to be like very like deep onto psychological stuff onto that. No, like, you can keep it very simple, and through even the most simple stuff, that you can get like a huge change in your life. So that will be my 5 cents onto that. And also maybe another issue that I found out regarding the integration is that there's like some kind of lack of preparation for us, for the people who is facilitating and also on regarding integration. There's like no university doing any kind of course. Like, of course you have like some ICERs, some little organizations programs, but it's not something really big and powerful, doing by a lot of professionals on the field, and something that it's like proven that it's working, and the right integration that should be working. Because integration as well, I found it out in South America that they don't do integration as here.
Well, they have a different lifestyle.
It's a different.
They don't need it.
Yeah, it's a different world, a different ideas, a different way of behaving. So it's not the same the integration that can be for me, that can be for someone of South America, and even for you, that you come, even if you are from Europe, you come from a different background, and maybe we need some kind of different integration to see the same solution for an issue, for a problem or whatever. No, so I also think that integration should be like really sweet to the person, no? Like really adapt to it. And get to, well, it cannot be the same integration to different people, for example. No, even if they had a similar experience, you may get some ideas different from that. No? So also should be something flexible. No, let's say, and that will be. Well, what would you add on integration and so on? No? Because it's like the homework from psychedelics. No, they say that okay, you do 4 hours trip, but that's nothing. That's the easy part. No, let's say, like, the hard part comes after, like, trying to understand what happened to you, how can you put that changes in your daily life, and so on. No. So what will you say in this sense?
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. I mean, you said a lot already, and just to build on top of what you said, I had this really weird insight maybe like 12 years ago or so, maybe even earlier, I don't remember. It was one of my LSD experiences, and then I came to this really strange phrase that it doesn't matter what type of insight you get in the psychedelic journey, what matters is what you do with it on Monday. I don't know where that came from. I mean, the concept of integration generally is still like relatively new and not widely adopted, even in the global psychedelic community. Not all people know what integration is. I'm not even talking about the masses who never tried psychedelics, but generally speaking, for me specifically, it's what you said. Like, okay, so I want to live a healthier life. Okay, well, what does that mean on Monday? What does that mean on Tuesday? What does that mean in a week from now, in a month from now? And this is hard work. And it's like, for me, like the recent experiences is more like going into the journey with a notebook, just taking notes, like, okay, this, next page, this, it, okay, got next, and just like going and like implementing that shit. And of course, it's not about like radical changes in life, not about like quitting a job or leaving a partner or anything like that. It's like small subtle changes, but things. I had this phrase that also manifested one time, that it's about the difficult thing that you need to be doing, but you just postpone them, and this is from integration. Like when you really gotta do it, and you're like, nah, I don't want it, but this is the thing. And unless you do it, you're gonna keep on repeating the same patterns and over and over again. It's just gonna hit you right in the face, and just like this is it. No, but like this is it. You're like, no. The more it's just like it becomes more and more
you
more
have to
obvious.
let go.
Yeah, trust the process. Just surrender. Yeah, and finally do it. But then when you're doing it, you're like, oh, that's not comfortable at all. But yeah, when you do it, you're like, okay, finally. It's like there's this program that is running in the back, and then it takes some time and some attention and some memory. And then once you do it, it just dissolves. You go, oh, okay, finally. There's like less weight on my shoulders. But yeah, going back to the integration, I think it's all about like taking, as you said, those insights and bringing them in the daily life. Like, okay, if someone's unhappy about their life choices, so are they changing anything after all? Actually, are they doing anything about it, or are they still waiting that the psychedelics will do it for them? Well, this is where it gets the most tricky, is that I don't really understand, like, where's this notion coming from, but it's very universal, like, probably throughout the entire planet, is that people believe in the magic pill or, the silver bullet or whatever. Like, why? Like, seriously, it's ridiculous. Life is not like this. You gotta work for it. You gotta integrate it. I mean, if you want to build a new habit, it takes at least 21 days to build it. And then depends on your level of discipline and commitment, maybe longer, maybe less, but then it's there. But it's not a magic bullet. And people still think that, I'm going to go in an ayahuasca ceremony, I'm going to heal. No, the healing happens not in the ceremony. What happens after? Like, as you mentioned, like you stop like eating meat and then you change your environment. Okay, I stop drinking alcohol. I'm not spending time with people who drink alcohol. That's it. But this is my choices. This is integration for me, right? And then for another person, it could be something different. But then, yeah, it's all about the things that are happening on a daily basis and improvements. And of course, when it comes to really difficult experiences, this is, I think, what matters the most, because in my view, the difficult trips are technically the best. Like, seriously.
100% agree on that. Yeah.
I mean, when I had a really major,
sadly, yes,
it's so weird. I remember I had a really difficult. It took me 9 years to integrate that shit. Like, really, it was really difficult. But then once I integrated, like, that what was it? I'm like, oh shit. And now whenever I have a difficult journey, I'm like, oh, okay, pain. Let's roll. Beautiful. And while people like expect miracles and ponies and rainbows and whatever, I'm like, okay, let's go dark. Bring it on. And when you go there, when you take that, and you're like, okay, that's painful. Let's put it back together and integrate it and make it whole. And this is like more of a conceptual, but I like that metaphor that Markai Schla from the ICU has used, and he wrote a beautiful book, The Psychedelic Integration. It's about like putting the puzzle back together. Like, when you under the influence of psychedelic, it's like shattered, all the worldview is like in small pieces. And then some people struggle with putting that back together, but then integration is like putting that puzzle together and like changing it on the go as well. Like, okay, I don't need that piece any longer. Let me change that picture and just put a different one here instead. It's like remodeling in a sense, like cleaning out the apartment after, a while, and just getting rid of all the clutter, all the stuff you no longer need, and just keep on carrying it with you. It's a journey. Takes time. Takes support. But I got a question. How do we promote integration? I mean, it's such a weird concept, right? I mean, we understand it, but people who never tried psychedelics and you talk to them about integration, like, what?
Well, I have like a funny, kind of funny story related with this. Like in a sharing circle, we were asking about the intention, right? The intention that it should be important when you're doing psychedelics and all that stuff, no, and so on. So I was like really, really serious talking about that, no, and then there was this Catalan guy that he was like around 70 years old. I think it's the oldest guy that came to a sharing circle, and he was like a big fan of LSD, and he used to do LSD regularly, even now on his 70s.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was like, oh, nice, I could be like you someday, no?
yeah, sure.
And regarding the intention, he said, well, it's the first time that I hear this of intention.
Oof.
Like I just take LSD because I like it and it's funny and that's all.
For how many years it's been taking? Did you mention?
Yeah, like maybe since the 19th or so, like 30 years at least, 30, 40 years.
Okay. Oh.
And he never had any kind of intention or integration after the trips, like because he was not aware of these concepts. So for the LSD was just like just to have like a good time and enjoy and that's it, no? So I think that related with this is very important how we construct our vocabulary and our ideas regarding the psychedelic world. No? So because so many, like I didn't know what was integration on my first trip. No,
Same.
I didn't know what was intention as well.
Yeah.
So now I know. Now I know, and I try to practice that and to give like the right time and respect for that and space, no, and to let that happen in an organic way.
Yeah.
So. And asking more about your question is very difficult. How we bring integration? I think with education, no, will be the idea. No, the same with how we can bring psychedelics to the regular people, to everybody. Let's say. So with the same with integration, no, like we have to normalize speaking about about it. We have to normalize getting to know what people is, what to expect, what to do, and even integration. I think that also can be brought up to your daily life without psychedelics.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, you don't need psychedelics to do integration. No, you maybe have like an argument with some friend, some partner, your father, your mother, and then you can later integrate that. No, you can later ask yourself, okay, what I was missing here? What should I be doing in a other way? What can I learn from my behavior in this sense? No, why I did, why I was shouting when I don't like to shout? No, what was the trigger that brought me to there? No, so integration will be related with more self-awareness. I would say. No, so the more awareness that you have on yourself, the more easy it will be to then integrate things and then maybe later not to behave in a way that you don't want to do, no, or you don't want to say or something like that, no. So maybe integration is something that we have to bring to our daily life even without psychedelics, no. I would say so. Maybe that will be some road to keep walking and to keep working on that, no, because I think also the road is endless, like the road of self-development and self-work. Like you think that you're arriving to an end, but it's like a loop that it's going down or like going out, like a spiral. No, exactly. So the work is still daily, no, daily work, no, daily integration. So
yeah, good, nice. I wanted to ask you about Spain. What's the I don't know. How do people think about psychedelics in Spain? Like, what do they know? Is it like, I don't know, something bad, something stigmatized, is it something that people feel ashamed of?
I think most of the people, regarding also as well the experience that I had through the circles and that stuff, most of them come to psychedelics because as a party drug. Like maybe 75-80%.
Oh, okay.
I would say that their first contact with psychedelics it's like because a friend have tried this and they went to the woods, they had some weird time, you know, like you have to try this, like you're gonna see everything changes a lot, you know. So that will be the first touch that many people have. And then of course there's like a little percentage of people, not so little, no, 25%, 20, no, that the first approach that they do to psychedelics, it's mainly with healing purpose or with idea to work on themselves or whatever, no. So most of the people that start taking psychedelics for fun, they stop being fun because they see that you're not taking psychedelics just to have a good time, but maybe you take it to have a good time, but then instead of having a good time, like you are like 1 or 2 hours away from the group, thinking of your stuff, you know, like getting into a more like individual process. So you are like having this more like real psychedelic experience, no, like it can be like more healing, more rewarding, and in that sense. And then when you realize that, whoa, this is not only for fun, like you can use this for work on yourself or having like a better understanding of your world, of your problems, or whatever, no. And then is when people like maybe do like a transition, no, like they stop doing psychedelics for fun and then start doing it for healing purposes or like in a more ceremonial way, you know, as well, because also it makes a difference, no, how you approach them, if you're taking it, opening like a sacred space, or if you're opening just like if it was like another beer, no, or something like that, no. So that will be the approach that people here have in Spain, I would say. Yeah.
How about in general population? Like, I mean, for example, like alcohol, wine is part of the culture, Spanish culture. I think this is part of the reasons that Spain is number one. I think it's number one consumer of like benzodiazepines.
Yeah, in
and
Europe,
sleep medications. Like there's a massive issue with insomnia. I think alcohol is part of the factors that contributes to that. But anyway, that aside, people generally like normalized alcohol consumption, which is a narcotic, but nobody gives a shit about it. But when you talk to people about psychedelics, how do they react? It's like, oh no, that's a drug or whatever. How does
depending, no? But I think most of the people still think, well, you have this idea on the collective unconsciousness, collective unconsciousness, no, that that if you talk about LSD, most of the people will think that you maybe are taking it in a 9th floor as we are, and you believe that you can fly. No, and that's the typical story that it's on the background. No, it's not something that it's reading anywhere, but people believe that. No, and I think that maybe Nixon did a really nice job on the US on the 70s regarding the war on drugs, the war on consciousness, and all that stuff. And it's still something a little bit taboo still, no? Even if we are open in that sense.
And with all the research happening still, wow.
But nowadays, like we are doing more, we are being louder, let's say, we are making more noise, and the scientific research that is going on in many hospitals in Barcelona, like in Hospital del Mar, Hospital Clinic, San Pau, there are hospitals who are working with 5-MeO DMT, with psilocybin, with ketamine, no? So it's still very good to see that even here locally, there's people who are like studying this like in a more professional, serious way to someday hopefully open it to like a more to all the population, no? Even there's like a little bit of debate because, okay, who will be able to give these substances, no? The one who is giving it since 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or only the one who is a doctor, or only the one, or you can only make it in the hospital, for example, or you are maybe not putting Palo Santo, no? Yeah. So is still like a little bit of a debate, no? Like how this is going to develop, no? Who is going to have like the power or the permission, no? Maybe because of the law to give these substances, where, how is gonna be the set and setting, how is gonna be the approach no, it's gonna be like more conductual cognitive,
Right,
no,
yeah.
or it's gonna be more transpersonal, or it's gonna be
The psychological modality.
yeah,
Of a
exactly,
therapist.
exactly. No, like which is gonna be the right approach, no, like which kind of integration are you gonna develop or have, no? So it's something still like a little bit on the gray area, no, developing. But I think that once you present the proof, let's say, like, okay, there's like a lot of scientific papers that are really positive about this, and if you don't validate the scientific approaches, don't worry, because there's like 1,000 years of practice, of shamanic practice that is going on, so maybe that gives you a little bit more of openness to this stuff, no? Okay, if you don't believe in the scientific approach, maybe like thousands of years of shamanic practice through the whole world in all the shamanic cultures, maybe it will open yourself a little bit, no? And it's crazy how people like can normalize being drunk at 16 or 18 or even 14, no? And not normalize taking some kind of psychedelics with healing purposes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's sometimes I think that it's more that people will validate more like going party and getting drunk than going to a weekend to a ceremony.
And heal. It's ridiculous. I mean,
it's like, why you're not going party and getting drunk and getting throwing up, or no?
I heal my trauma. Sorry, guys. Without
exactly.
There's been a scientific publication recently called "A Fear and Loathing in United Nations."
Okay.
And what they did is they went into the documents of United Nations around the time when they basically introduced the controlled schedule list and put all the psychedelics in there. And it turns out it wasn't just Nixon; it was USSR and France who actually like played key roles in that. And the whole idea of that paper was basically that there was no scientific evidence; it was purely ideological. And when you think about it, and this still to this day, it blows my mind. Like seriously, so technically, if you think about it, the psychedelics are not prohibited, right? They are on the controlled substance list. I mean, substances cannot be prohibited; they just exist. Like if DMT was prohibited, anyone can be put to jail, because we have endogenous DMT, right? I mean, it's produced in our body. We can be put to jail if it's illegal. It's not illegal. It's controlled. That's why it's like...
Same with endocannabinoids.
Exactly. But the craziest part for me is that the whole idea of the prohibition is basically you cannot alter your own consciousness with these substances. The only question that I have is why? Like, seriously.
Well, I think that Antonio Escotado will give you like a nice answer for that. I don't know if you know him, but I recommend you having a look into him. He was a philosopher in Spain and psychedelic activist. Well, not psychedelic activist, just like drug activist. Okay, so he was saying that if you are not free to experiment with any kind of substance on your body, you're not free. As basic as that, right? And he was like a well-known TV show host, and he was also like making really nice debates, and it's beautiful to see like people smoking a cigarette on TV, talking about drugs and casual, because this is something that you don't see nowadays. These kind of debates that are so rich and so nice, no? Like Jacobo Greenberg,
politically correct.
Jacobo, like another Mexican guy that he was also in this kind of TV shows as well with Escotado, and they were like talking about ayahuasca, about DMT, about heroin, about any kind of drug, no, let's say. And he was fighting his whole life for like normal use of drugs, and he was saying like, you should legalize all the drugs.
Or decriminalize them.
Yeah, decriminalize, no? Let's say like, and for example, if you want to have heroin, or you want to have like a shot of heroin,
Go for it.
maybe it's better to go to the pharmacy, have a doctor, get a 10, okay, this will be your dose, you can take it in a safe place with a nurse behind you who's going to take care of you, instead of going to some dodgy place on Barcelona and then go to a narco flat, no, and try to get a shot there, no. So it's also a way of harm reduction in the end, no. Like, okay, if you're going to do this in any way, for example, I was doing a volunteering on the jail, and the boss of the jail, of the little how to say, the block of the jail, he was saying that he's giving always like clean syringes to people, because he will rather not know that people are sharing them. So it's like, okay, if you're gonna do heroin, in any case, like, you're gonna do it yes or yes, I'm gonna give you a clean syringe, so you can at least do it in a safe way, no? So it's a way of respecting the life and respecting the freedom of each other, no? Same with the euthanasia, for example. Like, okay, if you want to have like a way to die that is like
your call,
like without pain, if you have like a terminal illness or whatever, okay, like, maybe it's your right to choose what to do and not to do. So the same with the drugs, no? And I don't think it's like a coincidence or something magical that the only legal drugs are alcohol and caffeine. Like, come on. Like,
there are other drugs like benzos and all the pharmaceuticals, SSRIs,
but the ones that are industry, let's say
tobacco,
tobacco as well, no, that the ones that are that are permitted, let's say, no, and it's
you can profit off them,
and a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
One of the biggest corporations in the world are the ones that are selling that.
So
psychedelics is different. I think that's the trick with psychedelics, because people don't like consume them on a regular basis. You just cannot do that. Whereas with alcohol,
you don't need to.
You can do that every day. It's just like whatever. I mean, I see people sometimes pass by bars and they start in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. I mean, it's hard to imagine a person waking up and taking like, I don't know, 5 grams of mushrooms. I mean, probably there are individuals like this. I mean, they probably need a bit of help and guidance. But generally speaking, it's not like this, and you can't really profit out of it. I think that's the problem, and this is the capitalist world we live in. Whereas you can profit of alcohol, tobacco, whatever, drugs like SSRIs is a beautiful example. Like, you just give it to people, and then some people are on the medication. I'm not against pharmaceuticals; they're good. They can help and save people's lives, but then, for some, it's not a treatment per se. It's just like part of their life. I met people who've been like for decades on SSRIs, and you're like, but why? Like, come on. Like, and then most mind-blowing thing to me is that when I meet a person and they have some sort of issues with their mental health, and they're like, oh, depression or anxiety or whatever, first line is SSRIs, then psychedelics. I'm like, yeah, but
this will be also like a huge problem as well here, because they were already saying this, no, that okay, we are gonna have in a close future like a legalized psilocybin therapy. Okay, but that is gonna be like a last resort. First, like, you're gonna have to try SSRIs and all that stuff. No, and it's like, why? Why is that? No, like, hopefully this paradigm will change in the coming years. But it's like not a good topic, no. And also the profit about this is also like a huge elephant in the room, no. Let's say, for example, in USA, that in some states the MDMA therapy it's already legalized.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not.
Maybe.
I thought psilocybin. Yeah, Oregon and Colorado. Yeah, but not MDMA.
Well, maybe in clinical trials, not sure.
Clinical trials for sure. But not like mass.
But I was regarding this,
Australia,
is that,
Switzerland. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. That one of the Jose Carlos Bozo, the guy from ICERS that was the scientific research, the director, he told that the gram of MDMA for these therapies in the USA is going to be sold around $3,000 to $4,000.
It's like therapy, including preparation session, the dosage
No,
and
well,
integration, or just the medicine.
just the medicines. So the gram,
Oh.
it's being priced between $3,000 and $4,000.
Because it's in the system and legal and wide
Yeah.
and all that.
So for the
Yeah.
maybe just the dose of MDMA will be like $600 or $800 just for the MDMA,
It's
just for the pill, let's say, no?
Actually, it's the that's the price in Switzerland.
Really?
That's my knowledge. I spoke with Elena Eicher.
Mhm.
She's one of renowned scientists in Switzerland. She works with the medicine, and she co-authored a manual, a framework for psychedelic assisted therapy, and published there. And I had a conversation with her and asked her. She said it's 700 francs, I don't know, give or take, right? But yeah, for one dosage.
It's not cheap. I mean, if you know how much it costs on the street, no?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of it's weird. I understand you completely, but I think that this is the problem with the capitalist world we live in. It's because the cost of legal production is actually not cheap. I mean, it's the facility, taxes, people's fucking security, logistics, like everything. And and that all compounds to the cost. So if you want to do it in a legal, safe manner, it costs a lot, and that is the problem. But you can order a grow kit and just do whatever you want for like, I don't know, like 30 euro or whatever, and heal yourself magically. And just this is the most mind-blowing thing to me, that if you do this like in a legal, nice manner, it costs like 10,000 euro or like 7,000 or whatever, maybe covered by insurance, maybe not. But then you can, well, I'm not like calling people do that, but like that's what I did, like self-medicate basically, you know?
Yeah.
And if you know how to approach it, structure preparation, the session, and integrate, it's no magic.
You're good to go.
Absolutely. This is the craziest thing to me, is that, you know, while the science is advancing and all that, and like while it's all implementing in the system, well, technically, it's just straightforward.
And some question related with this a little bit is that what do you think that will be the ideal approach? Because in one hand you have one-on-one sessions will be, for example, and then you have like these ceremonies where like 6
group
4 people, whatever, are taking part of the same process.
Yeah.
So maybe the approach that the clinical trials or the clinical perspectives are having is like the one-on-one.
Right.
And then you're like giving up like these communal practices, no? So what will you think will be like the positive things and the bad things between the individual setup and the group setup, no? Like, because this is also like a huge topic for me, no? Like, how do you approach these sessions, no? In this sense,
there are many variables it depends, of course, like whether it's more like traditional shamanic setup or more modern medical, whatever. But for both of them, it seems, and there's scientific evidence for that the group work is actually more efficient than one-on-one work, I guess, with few exceptions. Unless you're dealing with a person with a severe case of PTSD, probably you want to do that on one-on-one, right? But when it comes to like depression or something like that, group work can be very beneficial. And going back to Elena Eicher and something that she shared as well, in Switzerland, you can work with MDMA, LSD, psilocybin legally. There are like 300 plus therapists that have the licenses to do so. And they can do like one-on-one work and group setup. And she shared with me that she had groups of people who had different medicine in the same group. So this is really crazy, if you ask me. But it's efficient and working, and it's cost efficient as well. Because you don't have, like, for, I don't know, insurance purposes or whatever, you don't charge as much because it's a group setting. When it's one-on-one, it's just more costly. So generally speaking, I'd say the group work is really good. And then there's this communal aspect. And because we are like social creatures, we lived in tribes, we evolved in tribes, there's something about it, like sharing this burden with others, like unloading it, and there are like group dynamics and all. So I think this is, well, truly like efficient and healing than like one-on-one work, because one-on-one to me is more about, you know, like more private type of premium type of approach, or like very, very, severe cases, because you probably don't want to have like a group ceremony with, I don't know, several victims of abuse. I mean, that could be really difficult to handle. But of course, I'm not a clinician here, and I don't know. But my vote would be to, probably like work in a group format, unless, a person can afford, and then they do whatever they want to do. Like if it's one-on-one ceremony and yacht somewhere, whatever. You pay the buck, your call. You do what
I'm
you want.
joining there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm just okay. I'll hold the ocean. Okay,
let's
I'll
go.
just hold the space. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. If you want to hire me, I'm up for it for sure.
Likewise.
But generally speaking, the group work is highly healing, and it's not just the medicine. It's just like being with others, like being vulnerable with others, sharing the experience. It's like you're creating a bond,
resonating, with other people as well. Saying, okay, that guy is going through the same shit as me, and like he's moving on. I can move on as well. So
that's really good. That's really healing. Right, I'm just a bit aware of time. I gotta go soon because I got a call to catch. Are there any things that you want to cover while we're heading towards the ending of this recording?
We talk about, I think that we didn't dig up a lot, but for example, regarding the spiritual bypassing, that I think it's also like a topic that it's growing more and more in this sense. So what will be your take on that as well? Like, because I think that in some way, most of the people who are like related with psychedelics have some kind of eco-inflation in some stage of their life, some kind of spiritual bypassing.
Right.
So, for example, I don't know how to be aware of that, how to work, or what will be your red flags in this sense as well, or I don't know, your take on or your opinion on this subject.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I'd say it deserves like a separate episode, but generally speaking, if we were to try and sum it up, I guess, spiritual bypassing is, again, not widely discussed phenomena, even in the psychedelic community, and people don't really know what it is. They're not recognizing it, and the weirdest thing is that you cannot tell a person that he or she is doing spiritual bypass. It's just not gonna land with them. So
you're gonna say,
they're like, no.
That's you. That's your projection.
Exactly. I mean, no, it's not me. No, I'm good.
I'm a being of light.
Pretty much, I'm operating in high frequencies. No, what I'm saying is that it's something that we need to recognize in ourselves, and of course, the red flags, like the one you mentioned, for example, like a person going into ceremony every single week, like this is. Probably, it is for sure a spiritual bypassing if the person is receiving a message, not implementing in life, and just like continues the medicine work. That's spiritual bypassing as well. There are other factors, and like person not doing the things that they need to be doing in their daily life. Like there was an example that Marrakesh mentioned in this the psychedelic integration course, that there's this person who is like very spiritual, like meditates a lot, takes a lot of medicine and all, and his spouse is like a slave, like doing all the dishes, cleaning the apartment, because that dude is like doing something more important, right? So the spiritual bypassing here would be like completely disconnecting with the real world things and like, I'm contacting with other dimensions. Like, nice and beautiful. Did you pay your taxes? I mean, what's happening here? What are your obligations? Like, are you doing what you should be doing? Like, just here in this like physical whatever reality, however you want to call it,
the boots on the ground, let's say, like
pretty much like you disconnected from Matrix, nice and beautiful. Okay, so what are you eating? Junk food? Well, I don't know. Have you actually disconnected? And I like it as like all those people who go into I have one other strange thing, and I don't know. I think it's a spiritual bypassing as well, but I find it really, really interesting and weird when there is a practitioner, a person who, hosts ceremonies like shaman, whatever, and then that same person like smokes tobacco, like, drinks alcohol, or like eats like shit. And then you're like, but dude, come on, like, why? I mean, seriously, didn't the medicine tell you, like, this is, to me, is a red flag, just generally to be aware that this person is not integrating shit. And when I see, like, people, munching on biscuits and like rolling another like cigarette with weed and whatever, you're like, yeah, but come on, man, like, it's not good for you. Why are you doing this? And this is, to me, spiritual bypassing. You know that you are destroying yourself, you're preaching to others, you're telling others, oh, you should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. What are you doing? Like, can you, like, honestly be like sincere with yourself, like close your eyes, connect with yourself and say, am I actually healed? Well, no. Okay, fine, we're not perfect, nobody is, but we're there, we're going there. But are you actually trying to do anything about it, or are you just like, no, I'm too sane for all that shit and just beyond all that mortal stuff that to me would be spiritual bypassing? Or people who are like, they're too divine. I don't know. But yeah, there are many different forms and shapes. What's your take?
Yeah, I think that you make a really good point on that, no? Like, in the end, like, you reflect all the things that you preach or you try to say, and it's like a way of behaving, no? And a way of showing as well how you have applied or these kind of lessons to your daily life, no? So maybe in spiritual advising, I think that we speak a little bit, no, about this kind of cliche words: living, release, let it go.
Right.
Okay, it can work sometimes, but some other in some other cases, like, you need to ground that, no, and to be more focused on the words and what you are really saying, no, because what does it mean to release? Release what? From where? No, and like, try to be more deep onto that, no, into this kind of typical phrases that are so well said, no.
Yeah.
And
I get an example from my own life. It happened like a year ago or so. So I was going through a divorce. It was 7.5-year relationships, and then it coincided with me going into an ayahuasca ceremony. There were like 3 ceremonies within 1 week. And then in the first ceremony, and we already like separated right before the ceremony, we went to the couples therapy, and there what it all happened. We're like, okay, current relationship is not working. There's maybe potential for renegotiation. And then I go into the first ceremony, I'm like, okay, that's it, done, completely, like, relationship is ended, we're not together, that's it, fine, okay, I'm okay with it. And then I'm like, okay, the medicine helped me and shit. And then a few months later, my health goes to shit. Like, I'm, like, crumbling. Well, I relocated to a new country as well. Like, I moved from Lithuania to Spain. And then there's been a lot of uncertainty, dealing with all that shit and the divorce as well. And in parallel,
it all sums up, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and my nervous system, like, it's just like barely holding it. And then my autoimmune disease manifests. I can't really walk much. And it's like, shit, what's happening? And then only after some time, I realized that, me, like, rationally thinking that, the relationship is over and that's it, I processed that, does not mean that my nervous system did so. And like, okay, I guess that was spiritual bypassing for me, because I didn't really, like, grieve properly, like, process it properly, because I thought that, that's it, I'm healed and whatnot. But actually, no, not really. And that's really hard to recognize. I mean, of course I'm not perfect, but I didn't notice it right away. It took some time, and nobody would have, like, pinpointed that to me as well. So when it comes to spiritual bypassing, you need to be really fucking honest with yourself and just like, am I actually or not?
You make a really good point there regarding the two, let's say, horses or that go through ourselves, no? That one can be the mind, another one the body, no? And sometimes they are aligned, they are like tuned, and sometimes the mind can be saying some things, but the body some other things, no? And I also believe that we don't treat the body as much as we should, no?
Sure.
Like, we used to see symptoms or drugs to give to the body when it's in pain,
numb the pain.
but we don't see beyond the pain, no? What this pain is telling us, what's the meaning of this pain, how are we dealing with that, where it come from, no? And it's sort of like a big subject that is left behind. And I think that we have to like be like more fully aware of it, no? Because in the end, like we have a body that we have to be taking care of, and sometimes the body can be speaking to us, and we don't know how to understand that message, no, or that way of the body telling what's going on, no.
That's true. We're walking nervous systems, as someone said. But and we need to decode that the messages in the language, because it's like a language. Like basically, biology is communicating with the consciousness, and we're like, I will take this pill, just numb it, or let's scroll social media, or let's indulge in like I don't know TV or whatever, like junk food, just like distract ourselves. But the body is clearly telling you, like, nah, that's shit. I don't want to listen to that. So it takes time to cultivate that skill as well. And well, for me, it's it strikes a chord. All right, I think we're about to finish. Is there anything else? No. Unless we got really a lot of likes and comments, and then we get to the episode about spiritual bypassing separately. But anything else?
Pleasure to talk to you, Vlad, and hope to see you soon or around Barcelona or anywhere in the Matrix. And thank you very much for the offering and best wishes.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe and share that information with people who may benefit from listening or watching it. Till next time.